the budget for the role because I uprooted my life to move over here.
Gen Z are going viral for exposing their employers to millions.
Gen Z women, I understand, are taking this to a whole new level.
Probably give up too easily. I'll be coming hard.
I don't want that to happen.
They're really showing us a better way, and they're just a generation that's pushing against that.
Imagine if a future employer Googles you and sees that you posted a video exposing the previous job. Do you think they're going to want to hire you? From loud quitting to quiet quitting to holding literally everyone accountable, we're here to uncover exactly how Gen Z are transforming the workforce.
It doesn't make any sense to work the same job for 40 years.
And whether this generation is the problem or the solution.
Hey, Brittany.
Hi.
I decided to part ways with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there.
I'm really sorry that you're having this experience and feeling this way.
Everyone and their mum has seen that viral video of TikToker Brittany getting fired. She inspired others to expose their workplace for unjustly laying them off.
Uprooted my life to move over here, and now my job is getting eliminated after 3 months.
Call today your last day. You don't have to join any extra meetings, and we absolutely can be done actually when we wrap up this call. I recognize that you probably did not expect to have this call this morning.
Even though the original video was an unplanned sacking, the outrage that followed birthed the trend that we know as loud quitting, aka filming yourself quitting your job.
For now, this doesn't really seem aligned. I would love to allow someone else who's really excited about this spot to kind of take over. I got a job offer and I want to take it.
Oh, good for you.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
This begs the question though, are Gen Z cut out for the workforce? The older generation seem to think not.
There's no way some of these younger Gen Z people could weather such a storm without quitting, doing a long LinkedIn post to criticize their employee, then quitting. Gen Z, when I'm hiring people that are in that generation, I almost need to go to an extra length just to check that they can cope with a high intensity culture where demands might come on a Saturday.
You see all these videos of Gen Z people that are in tears because they have to work 9 to 5 now. It's not supposed to be this way. This is not how life is supposed to be. Yeah, that's life. Get over it. Stop crying, you sissy. Get it together. What the hell is wrong with you? This is embarrassing.
This doesn't fit my values, or this doesn't agree with my politics, I quit. People are quitting so much, and what's going to happen is an employer is going to look at them and be like, I can't take the risk because you've stuck around in the good times and bailed in the bad times.
Gen Z is a generation that is most aware of its rights and responsibility when it comes to work. And they're really good at maintaining a healthy work-life balance. They use social media as a tool to hold big companies accountable for their actions. So it's no surprise that their outlook to work is completely different to other generations. LinkedIn conducted some eye-opening research into this issue, and the numbers are crazy. Gen Zers are being impacted by career echo chambers. 22% of Gen Zers haven't spoken to someone over 50 in the workplace in over a year. 50% of Gen Z battle with the lack of confidence to communicate with other generations. 22% of Gen Z feel intimidated that other generations always seem to know more than them. This research does highlight the lack of communication between Gen Z and the older generation. But this goes both ways. They're still stuck in the career echo chamber, and they might not realize how much this harms their future until someone warns them. Imagine if a future employer Googles you and finds your name online and sees that you posted a video exposing the previous job that you had and the company. Do you think they're going to want to hire you? To learn more about the legality of it all, I spoke to Walter Yeo, an employment lawyer based in Toronto, Canada.
Some things that we could point to as potential risks are things like violations of confidentiality agreements, perhaps not the actual contents of the communication surrounding the termination itself, but there could be, some other kind of discussion that takes place during that termination meeting. If you were to then kind of take a recording of yourself being terminated and upload that to social media, there's definitely a very real potential of violating the employer's confidentiality agreement there. That potential, for the violation is always there, and to some extent, I just don't trust individuals who aren't employment lawyers to sort of parse out what aspects of this video I can upload to TikTok and which ones I can't. Jurisdictions have at-will employment, which means that an employee who's being terminated, if it's not, their fault, they may not have any access to, notice of their termination or salary continuance in the context of their job ending.
In your view, why has there been a surge of this trend of sharing employment
termination, specifically amongst the Gen Z community?
What I've seen, just as somebody who's been following trends in the employment law space over the past few years, is a significant kind of reevaluation and reworking of the employee-employer relationship that took place during the pandemic. You know, the importance of working in person has been significantly impacted. So one of the things that I think we may be pushing back on as a society is the corporate mask, right? There's a certain coding that we use to encompass interactions we have in the corporate world. The kind of recording that we're seeing is an attempt to kind of push back on the constructed nature of corporate speak, and to add an element of humanity back to the termination process. So when we see headlines about layoffs, we're not often thinking about an individual who now, you know, has the inability to pay their mortgage or pay their bills or feed their family. We're just thinking about, oh, you know, maybe the economy is not doing so well. It's kind of tying the activity back to what the impact is at an individual level, and it's kind of reminding people that it's a real thing.
I still had some unanswered questions on the reason why Gen Z are making these videos. So the next day, I spoke to Maureen Simmons, a HR expert based in the USA.
I think what we're seeing now is that we have a lot of people being terminated, and they're really shocked. And they have no idea it was coming. They don't know what's happening. It's delivered to them in the most inhumane ways. And luckily, we have a generation that's pushing back against that. They are recognizing that there's opportunities for us to optimize work and for us to do things more efficiently. They are in the tech age. They are coming in an age where things are more efficient, where things are optimized. They're really showing us a better way, and they're just a generation that's pushing against that, that's calling us to the carpet and saying, no, this is not the way that we should do this.
Is there any sort of like practical tips or strategies that you have for people that basically do this?
Some of the videos have been really heartbreaking for me. This may mean for some people that they won't have money for rent or for food. One thing that I'd speak to, do more homework in the beginning. Try to find current employees to talk to, go on LinkedIn. They're interviewing you, interview them as well. I am really happy that people are shouting these companies out, if we want to put it that way. Kudos to people that are doing that. I think companies need to see themselves from the perspective of potential employees. Businesses are in the business of making money. And I think they forget that at every part of the life cycle of that employee, you need to treat them with kindness and grace.
Maureen's authentic care for employees was like a breath of fresh air. The next day, I arranged to speak with Tara Bunker. Her video went viral after she filmed herself quitting her toxic workplace.
Fortunately, your creative skills aren't quite there.
Okay.
Why would you quit a £30,000 a year
Because I'm not
job?
happy, Leo.
Minimum. I'm actually going to make it 4 weeks. Probably give up too easily.
I don't, because I don't want to fight on it or anything like that. That's why I'm saying
That's fine, because I'll be coming hard.
I don't want that to happen.
What's going to happen? Because I think you've lied. I think you've been looking for jobs in my time, and from Wednesday.
Tell us about your story and what made you decide to record the conversation and what made you post it.
Why I recorded that conversation and essentially me like trying to quit was because of a first phone call that had happened prior to it, which really seemed like his attitude and behavior was so out of the blue. So I was kind of in shock from that first phone call of like how he spoke to me and how he treated me, that when I knew a second one was going to kind of happen and it was happening over Google Meet, I knew that it would probably be best to have evidence on my side because of the kind of threats he was saying and the way he was talking to me. But then he was making the threats of, well, you know, I'm going to fire you for doing this, or, you know, because he thought I was looking for work on his time. And the irony was I wasn't, because I was working 24/7 for this man. It was a startup company as well. So I think people are kind of, you know, backing themselves and recording it and making sure they have proof and, you know, almost not going down without a fight, because there's this stigma and stereotype that we're a lazy generation and that we don't respect authority. And we do massively, but if that authority doesn't respect us back, we know our worth. I blocked him on pretty much everything. When we all realized that we were not being paid and the company had gone under, I thought, you know what, I now have no reason to talk to this man. So I blocked him on everything. I mean, he, like I said, he completely disappeared. He didn't post on socials. He deleted all of his social accounts, the ones that he had. I think there's a couple still up and running, but I blocked him. I was like, you know what, I don't want to give this man a reason to to reach out to me anymore because he's just so toxic. And since doing that job, I've always thought, well, I have to think of myself first. And if a company, you know, it's all great that they want you to fit to their, you know, morals and brands and values and stuff, but if it doesn't fit back, then it's not going to be a good fit. And there's no way you can, I mean, there may be a few times you can kind of adapt, you know, either way, but if they don't believe in you and you don't believe in them, it's not going to work. Cool. No, thank you. This has been so great. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Tara. Have a great day.
Cool. Bye.
I then arranged to speak to the person who launched the controversial trend of the lazy girl job, Gabrielle Judge.
All this criticism all the time of like, I would never have a lazy girl job. It would be way too boring for me. Boring is good.
Could you share your story behind what inspired you to make this trend, and do you anticipate the widespread impact it received?
So it was this idea of doing something and achieving something in a very small time. So I was like, why don't we just use the same logic for our jobs? And so I started this lazy girl job program. It was this digital product. The idea of actually turning the hashtag into this viral trend and then seeing so many people repurpose it in their own content was so exciting to see. So how I define it is it's a job that prioritizes work-life balance. And so it's really vague for that reason. Every single person has a different idea of what work-life balance should be. I would say it's like 18 to about 35 is who's really rocking with me. But there's a lot of Gen Xers that have been messaging me and being like, this is something I wish I had 20 years ago.
How do you respond to the critics that say that your trend encourages a lack of ambition?
I understand why, because it can be really confusing for older generations too. I think the ones that mean really well, they probably are giving me this concern because they think that's what's best for us. But that's a small percentage. I do think that there's some mean-spirited conversations that happen with the media for sure.
A TikTok trend called Bare Minimum Mondays. But now Gen Z women, I understand, are taking this to a whole new level. This new trend is called lazy girl jobs.
But what a weird thing, man. Like, I grew up with a generation of women who wanted to break the glass ceiling. Now they just want to take a selfie next to it and call it a day.
The times are completely different. It doesn't make any sense to work the same job for 40 years because you're only going to get on average about a 3% raise every year. That's not even looking at cost of living, inflation, that's barely anything. So it just makes more sense for Gen Z and millennials and you know anyone else in the workforce to be a little bit more selfish about their time and their money and where it goes. They're trying to put their own oxygen mask on and they're trying to figure out if there are other ways that they can make money. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but I just think that work's going to look a little bit different. I don't think in the next 10 years, it's going to be Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. every kid's in the office. I don't think it's going to look like that.
The aspirational lazy girl job isn't about avoiding hard work altogether. It's about prioritizing a healthy work-life balance and seeking fulfillment beyond the confines of traditional office settings, which I don't think is a bad thing. In this episode, we've seen how Gen Z is shaking up traditional work forms. Some might call them lazy or unproductive, but that's not the whole story. In short, the younger generation are changing the workforce, creating a future where work and life are better balanced and well-being is a priority. So will you be redefining work or filming your next viral video blasting your boss?